I have been asked whether, in the years to come, it will be possible to kill 40 million American people by the use of atomic bombs in a single night. I'm afraid that the answer to that question is yes. If there is another world war, this civilization may go under.
He became a political pariah.
Is it true that humans have already discovered a method of destroying humanity?
And it finally ruined it.
Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds.
We have made a thing that by all the standards of the world we grew up in is an evil thing.
What if we set off this bomb and it literally sets the air on fire and engulfs us all?
The atmosphere is made out of oxygen, after all. Can the oxygen of the atmosphere be set in flames by an atomic bomb? No one knew the answer to these questions.
In 1972, The Limits to Growth was published by the Club of Rome. The book suggested that swift human depopulation would save the planet. In 2018, The Limits to Growth co-author Dennis Meadows explained how we need to murder billions of people.
The planet can support something like 1 billion people, maybe 2 billion, depending on how much liberty and how much material consumption you want to have. If you want more liberty and more consumption, you have to have fewer people. And conversely, you can have more people. I mean, we could even have 8 or 9 billion probably if we have a very strong dictatorship, which is smart. That's, unfortunately, you never have smart dictatorships. They're always stupid. So, but if you had a smart dictatorship and a low standard of living, you can have it. But we want to have freedom and we want to have a high sentence, so we're going to have 1 billion people. And we're now at 7, so we have to get back down. I hope that this can be slow, relatively slow, and that it can be done in a way which is relatively equal.
Overpopulation is a lie. With old school sustainable farming and the end of big government, there is enough room on this planet for several billion. And while the Earth's climate does change, most of what we are seeing is contrived. The fires breaking out all across the world are being blamed on climate change, even though hundreds of arsonists have been caught starting them. Most recently, 79 people were arrested for starting fires in Greece. Direct energy weapons, or DEWs, are able to start fires from above and can utilize microwave technology to burn homes from within. In 2013, the mainstream media reported that we were able to make rain and lightning.
I mean, lasers? Really? To change the weather?
By firing trillion-watt lasers, you rip apart the electrons, creating what are called ions, and these ions act like seeds, like dust particles, bringing down rain and even lightning.
This week in Michigan, residents reported a strange strobe-like lightning. The event was captured on weather radar, which showed a very unnatural-looking spiral.
That's some conspiracy theory shit right there.
Making it rain has been possible for decades, and we have come a long way since then. With the High Frequency Active Auroral Research Program, known as HAARP, we can now create hurricanes, and we can control their direction with next-generation weather radar transmitters, known as NEXRAD. By building up an electromagnetic charge and dispersing it underground as direct current VLF waves, or very low frequency waves, the NEXRAD radar transmitters are able to trigger earthquakes. Earthquakes and explosives can trigger tsunamis. These are the technologies that we know of, and that only leaves volcanoes and tornadoes. Funded by Peter Thiel, AVE Tech Energy Corporation began work in 2012 on a device to produce a 130-foot tall tornado. And a former U.S. intelligence officer recently told State of the Nation that the U.S. has already triggered a volcano. Climate change is not only a hoax, it's a depopulation program, and our entire government is going along with it.
I have been asked whether, in the years to come, it will be possible to kill 40 million American people by the use of atomic bombs in a single night. I'm afraid that the answer to that question is yes.
The whole place lit up. One of the scientists told me.
People the world would not be the same. Few people laughed. Few people cried. Most people were silent. I remembered the line from the Hindu scripture, the Bhagavad Gita. Vishnu is trying to persuade the prince that he should do his duty, and to impress him takes on his multi-armed form and says, "Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds."
We are at peril right now. It was so horrible with a baby bomb. Now they have so much more lethal nuclear weapon.
There's much talk about getting rid of atomic weapons. I have a deep sympathy with that.
Please, let's try to find common ground. Now, I'm sure if Opie was alive today, he would agree with me.
But we know that as long as men are free to ask what they will, free to say what they think, free to think what they must, science will never regress, and freedom itself will never be wholly lost.
Invaded Ukraine by land, air and sea, and what President Putin has called a special military operation.
The United Nations on Wednesday, South Africa was among 24 African countries that declined to join the resounding vote denouncing Russian aggression.
The Ukraine war has been a watershed moment. It has seriously challenged established assumptions about the balance of geopolitical power in the world economy, fueling inflation and slowing growth. But that will spur greater adoption of technology in advanced economies to help drive down costs.
Now, the leaders of the US, Britain and Australia meeting in California have given details of a defence pact that will provide Australia with nuclear-powered attack submarines.
Vladimir Putin and his Chinese counterpart Xi Jinping have held their first face-to-face talks since the start of the Ukraine war.
As companies and governments have found, ignoring political risks can be expensive. Identifying risks in advance, however, is never straightforward.